Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my coding course. If you watched my first video on Python, you already know how to print and use variables. Today, we are learning about lists and loops. They are super important. Let's go ahead and go on VS Code and create a new Python file. The name doesn't really matter, but for today's intents and purposes, I'm going to name this lists and loops.py. Now, what we're going to do, so a list is like a collection of things. Whenever you're initializing an integer, you'll type like fruit equals 8, and that would run fine because that's just a variable named fruit that contains 8, and it's an integer. The difference between regular storage methods like integers and floats, doubles, and strings is that lists, they're written the same way, but instead of just going, oh, I want to have an apple and a kiwi and a cherry, you don't just do that. Instead, you type brackets like this. And again, whenever you're doing this, it can be integers, it can be doubles, it can be anything you need it to be, it can be a string. For today's intents and purposes, we're going to look at how to do a string. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If we go ahead and look at this, we'll notice that there's brackets. So whenever we're writing a list, we can do the same thing as a string, where we can do double, like quotations like that, or we can do just these. I don't know the exact name at the top of my head. But what we're going to make is a list of fruits, and it's going to say apple, banana, and kiwi. So, now that we have this list, we're going to be able to print it off just like this. And when we print it, you're going to notice that it still has the quotation marks around it, but it's going to give everything in the list. It's going to give what we said, which is an apple, a banana, and a kiwi. This is because a list is just another way to store multiple points of data, one piece of data, and having to rewrite multiple variables. Now, what we can do is whenever we're writing a list, Python doesn't count apple as one. Python does this thing where it indexes at 0. So indexes equals 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. So we can see here that apple is going to equal index 0. Now, that's not actual code. What that means is that if we want to print out one singular piece of a list, we can do the name of the list and the indexing number that it's at. So if we print this and we run it, you see it's only going to print apple. But if we wanted to do banana, we could write 1, and that would print out banana, as you can see down here. Another cool thing is that QE, it would be 2, but it would also be -1, because we can also access things in a list using negative numbers. So if I run -1, it's going to give QE, and if I write 2, it's also going to give QE. So essentially, that is how you can access a list item if you want to print that out. Now, another thing I want to go over is loops. So we're going to keep our fruit list here. And what we're going to do is, you might see in a lot of Python code, programmers do for I in blah, blah, blah. I is just a way to say everything inside of whatever variable you're trying to access. So it doesn't really matter. If I wanted to, I could do for fruit and fruit, print fruit, and then when I run this, it'll give me apple, banana, and kiwi without the quotation marks, because what it's doing is it's going through and printing each fruit in the list. Or really, whatever you have in the list. If I want to have price values in here, I can do 1.5, 3.45, 9.78. And when we run this, it would print out 1.5, 3.45, 9.78. It doesn't matter what you have in the list, because this is still just going to go through whatever you have in that list. Now, there's ways to make this more advanced, and we'll probably go over that in a later video. But for loops can be used to check passwords or other things that you really want to do. As you can see, this episode is really about lists because they're important. Another thing you're going to want to do is be able to use something called sorry, I didn't know caps lock was on, .append. Now, you don't just write it, but what you're going to do is you have the variable of a list right here. If I write fruit and I do .append and I say I want to add a cherry onto this, if we reprint fruit, you'll see that it will add cherry to the end of the list. Append is made to specifically open or add another piece of data to an end of a list. So we could also do fruit dot insert, and let's say we want to replace where banana is. We could do insert 1, comma, and then do what we want in there. As you can see, it'll add orange right in the first place, or kind of the second place. Indexing in Python is weird. Let's say I want to replace where apple is. If I do 0, you'll see orange will move up to 0, apple will be 1, banana will be 2, and kiwi will be 3. Now, the next thing that I want you to do is an individual practice. Make a list of your 3 favorite animals and use a loop to print each one. Pause the video if you want to try it yourself first. If you don't pause the video, I will be going after it in about 20 seconds. All right, wonderful job. Now, the way I would do this, there might be other ways that you've learned from online resources. I would do animals equals a list and do my three favorite, which is a cat, a betta fish, and a parrot. And then I would do for I in animals, print I. And then you'll see cat, betta fish, and parrot. Of course, this thing doesn't matter. It's just a placeholder variable. But yeah, great job. This episode, we went over how to use lists, access items, use loops, and even add things to a list. In the next video, we're going to start trying to make our programs interactive, like letting users type stuff in and other things. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next episode.